You have your regular job
Mm.
and you want to have a side hustle as a podcasting. Let's just
Who
say,
doesn't? Yeah, who
let's
doesn't?
just say, so everybody wants a side hustle, right? So
Mm.
your side hustle is podcasting. And let's say if you get $500 a
Mm.
month from your side hustle,
Mm.
would that number motivate you to continue?
Oh, 100%.
Hello, everybody. This is Mark Kumar, your lifestyle entrepreneur and a proud owner of Simple Podcast Cloud, a platform that gives podcasters the ability and the freedom to host unlimited everything shows, episode, bandwidth, the whole nine yard. And we are here for podcaster. And as I always say, our platform is from podcaster for podcaster. And speaking of podcaster, we have another amazing podcaster who is going to help you get started podcasting if you're already there or if you're doing it for a while. He's going to share some amazing tips with you that is going to revolutionize your podcasting experience. So without any further ado, let's get this party started with my main man, Red. Red, tell us a little bit about yourself and we'll see where it goes.
Well, first, I gotta say, you kind of like talked a lot about me right there, and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to live up to that. But we're gonna see what happens. We're gonna try. I'm gonna try my best.
All
Um,
right, cool.
but yeah, name's Jamie, but I go by Red, obviously. Podcast host, Red's Ramblings. Um, Family man, father, husband, all that kind of good stuff. Work a regular job, do this for fun. Um, and yeah, again, don't know what all I'm gonna be able to teach people. I'm fairly new to this. I think I started in March, I want to say. But I've definitely learned a lot from where I started to where I am now, for sure. Learning every day, that's all you can do is just try and improve in every way you can.
Oh, that's the best way to do it. And man, I love your honesty. I know when we start talking about it, you're like, I know this. And most people are like, I don't know this. Like, what are you talking about? And then I truly appreciate your honesty. So tell me, like, how did you actually got into this wonderful world of podcasting?
Well, I listened to a few. I think that's how a lot of us start. We listen to them, and it's like with a lot of things. When you watch something, whether it be like a sport or something, a lot of people are like, "Well, I can do that too," and to where you normally can't. Like, I love basketball. I can't play NBA level. I would love to. Yeah, that'd be a dream or something. But I'm not that good. But when it comes to podcasting, it's not. It's talking essentially. It's recording, views that you have either of yours and sharing those with other people. And with it being something that you do yourself, you don't need like a company to come behind and say, "Hey, I got you. I can help you out. We're with you." It's if you want to do it, there's nothing stopping you. You need a camera. Heck, you can use your phone. I use my phone a lot. Everyone's got a smartphone these days almost.
Right.
And that's really all you need. A smartphone, internet connection, and boom, that's it. Literally, it is one of those things that literally anybody can do. And there's not a lot of things that are like that. So listen to a lot of them. And then, yeah, you get that feeling like, well, I got some views. I got some opinions that I think other people will appreciate, right? It's definitely a way to learn. You reach out like me and you right now, never knew each other before this, probably never would have known each other without this. So you meet a lot of people, you learn a lot of things, you see other cultures, because especially for me with mine, I speak to people from like all over the world.
Right.
I got one tomorrow with a guy over in London. I did one with a lady in Japan. So you learn a lot, you see a lot, and it's one of the coolest things about where technology is right now. Yeah, when internet came, you could essentially learn stuff from all over the world.
Right.
But now it's to the point where you can talk face to face essentially with people from all over the world as well. So it's a whole new medium that I'm just enjoying, really. Like, I don't know if I'm ever gonna, be on some top tier, company pod like, Spotify sponsor or anything like that. I don't care about that either, though. That's just like the ability to learn so many new things and talk to so many people. That in itself is just so unique and is really what's keeping me going.
Man, you hit it right on the head, like literally, because I think when you said the ability to learn, that
Mhm.
alone itself sometimes is more than money. I
Oh,
feel
for
like definitely,
yes.
because if you can, what I really love about this podcasting thing, if you ask somebody for advice, an expert or something, I just need
Mhm.
you 5 minutes. They will not even give you a minute of the
Yeah.
day. If you
Yeah.
say, "Hey, I have a podcast show, come on it," they give you a
Yeah.
whole hour plus, and you can
Yeah.
dissect the hell out of their brain.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I know. Um, just like that, when you can just talk to people and like get their opinions on stuff, or again, like with mine, I reach out to people from all over around the world, and I'll do a few hours of research beforehand, and like I'll talk to my wife like, babe, did you know this place has that? I'm like, no. I was like, I didn't either. I just learned that. That is so cool. I can't wait to ask him or her about this. And then I'll
Right?
have that conversation. I'm just like sitting there like, please tell me more. Tell me more. Like I know this is my show, but it's yours right now. I just want to know more.
Right. Yeah, absolutely, man. And I have been on I'm been on a both side of the fence, obviously,
Mhm.
where I interview people like yourself, an expert, and then all myself, people who found me as an expert to
Mhm.
interview me. So it's like a give and take, and it's been like a really rewarding and pleasurable and amazing experience. So tell
Yes.
me, all the people that you have interviewed, any of them that really stood out for you, they were like, "Oh my god, because of this, I'm going to
Okay.
continue podcasting."
I would say two stick out with me. Definitely two.
Okay.
I'll even go as far as three right now.
Right.
But I've spoken to a lady down in Ecuador, a lady from Monterrey, Mexico, two brothers. Oh, I mean, I could really just point on all of
Right.
them
Right.
because
Right.
I'm still friends with a majority of them. I think I do talk to all of them every now and then. But ones that I stay close with are the two brothers from Liverpool over in there in London,
Mm-hmm.
um, John and Matthew Reynolds. Shout out to them because they're cool. John has his own podcast and he's into the film history and literature, and his podcast is Art Imitates Life, and he talks to people about like if they're an artist or a painter or musician, what their products, the thing that they create, would be music, art, or whatever, how that comes from their life experiences and stuff like that, right? And then there's probably Umvesh Umapadhyay from India over in Lucknow. I spoke with him, a young kid, a journalist. I want to say mid-20s he was, or
Okay.
is, excuse me, and extremely bright future ahead of this kid. He was talking about, for being mid-20s, I don't know how the education system is over there in India. Sounds a lot better than it was for me growing up. Um, but he knew a very fair amount of ancient Indian culture, like from all the temples and ruins and religions they have over there. To even he was fascinated with their space technology, like the space program that they have, ISRO, I think it was. He knew a lot about that. He's really big into where Indian space technology goes into the future. And him being a journalist, he has ways to reach out to various people over there. He recently spoke with, I don't remember how the guy's name was pronounced, but he started the Indian Film Project, which was essentially like a film festival over there in India, and one of the biggest ones they have. And this little, from how I'm perceiving it, is this young 20-something-year-old reaching out to big name guys like that, showcasing everything India has to offer, and
Right.
I'm just in awe of what he's doing at such a young age. Granted, I'm not that old either. I'm only 30, but I wasn't that ambitious as a mid 20s. I don't know, nowhere near like that. And then one of my most recent ones was with a lady down in Australia, extremely vibrant woman, very articulate, loved where she's originally from London, living down there in Australia. We just had a good time talking. Some if probably one of the main things that I've realized in doing this is, again, I'm from the States. I'm from South Carolina, right? Born and raised in the South. And it's amazing that even when you speak with people from literally other side of the planet, you're way different, obviously. You grew up whole different lifestyle, but we're still so similar. Yeah, obviously we're humans. We know that. But
Right.
even just stuff that wouldn't hit you off the bat, that you realize that that kid's just like me. A few years younger, a few years older, grew up totally different than I did, but you're still so much alike. It's that part, that connection is still amazing.
Definitely, man. And one of the one thing that I absolutely hit home for me, and I literally learned that after podcasting,
Mhm.
interview and giving an interview and things like, which I didn't even recognize before, is like your mindset is
Mhm.
the most important thing
Mhm.
if you want to run a business in terms of not only just business, your personal life, anything else,
Yes.
like how you look at things. So talk to me a little bit about that. Have you ever encountered the whole mindset concept as before to doing the whole podcasting before?
I think it's helped. I don't think I thought about it per se before I started this. I would easily say that where my podcast has gone
Right.
is more likely because of how I see things. I've always been extremely open minded to just about anything, right? Even if
Gotcha.
I don't agree with it, I'll listen. At the end of the day, I'm like, it's not for me. Cool for you, that's fine. For me, not so much. Um, so in terms like that, I think that's again because a main chunk of what mine is talking with people from all over the place, different backgrounds, different religions, upbringings, cultures, traditions, all that kind of stuff. So we have still that same humanity, that same connection that we can all relate to. But I'm sure if we were to tell each other our whole story, there'd be a lot of stuff that I did that person didn't agree with, and a lot of stuff that person did that I don't technically agree with. It's not going to like turn me off from wanting to speak to them. It's a lot of stuff, especially when you're speaking to people from outside of your own country, whatever country it is. The like I said, the culture and just certain stuff that you do, like mannerisms, is it's just going to be different. That doesn't mean it's any worse or any bad. So I feel it's just being open to at least listening. You don't got to agree with everything. What do you do if you don't agree with it? But
Right.
just be open to listen, observe, and that helps you learn. Because even if you don't agree, like who's to say later on something I learned from him or her might come up, a year or two later. I was like, I remember him, that person saying something, you know,
Exactly.
and that I think that's definitely another thing as well. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm so glad you brought that up. Like 2 years later, or even 2 hours later, oh, remember
Yeah.
that person say like what?
Hmm.
And then some of the podcasting interviews that I've done, I was like, some of the individuals have, for me, it's been so inspiring and motivating. And
Hmm.
then after listening to their story, it's like I am not even doing 1% of what that person has done already in
Right.
their life. It's like what?
Exactly. Exactly. Oh man. Yes, I agree with that 100%.
It's like
I'm
makes
with
you
you
wonder,
there.
like I like what, like one of the example, one of the guy named Craig Diaz, and he was like a homeless person, literally
Hmm.
living on a street, and he turned his life around,
Hmm.
became a multiple had has a multiple different six-figure businesses,
Yeah.
and I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool on his own.
Yeah.
And then he continues to tell his story that after he was running his multiple businesses, that he had to go through dialysis for 7 or 11 years,
Mm.
something like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, I have no excuse. Like this
Right.
person is running not just one business but multiple one, and going through
And came
medical
came
condition and
came from
keep
nothing. Came from, like you said, being homeless. Yeah. I,
ex-
I think that to kind of jump on the homeless thing, I've always been that guy when like I'm very curious about
right,
just about anything that I see out there, right? And I was talking to my wife about it about a week or so ago. And like I would love and I'm wanting to hopefully implement this at some point, but I just got to figure out about how to go through with it.
Sure.
But like with homeless people, anytime I'm driving somewhere or I see one, I'm like, I've always, what happened? You know, where did that life turn to go the direction it's gone? You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that's always fascinated me. You know, like what was that catalyst that started all that? And in terms of that guy, that just shows you, like you said, the resilience. If you're like that's rock bottom. That's about as rock bottom as you can go.
Yep.
So from when you're rock bottom as rock bottom gets and still alive, and then you still go up and up and up and up to a multiple six figure, you said too?
Yep.
Like what do we have to complain about, man? You know what I'm saying?
And now, like, I hear other people like, oh, I don't have a nice mic, or my voice doesn't sound that. I'm like, really? That is not an excuse.
Right?
Like a horrible
Exactly.
excuse.
Exactly.
Like, just shut up. Like,
Right?
just shut up with this.
Yeah, we all have a bad day, but and multiple examples like that you see all the time now of people hitting their worst, their rock bottoms, and making it out. And then we wake up and we bump our car and oh, my day's ruined. Really? Is it though? It sucks. I understand that, but is it ruined? Is it ruined?
Right.
No, it's not.
Right. So, all right, let me ask you this. Speaking of the same track, why do you feel that, or rather feel, whatever you want to pick, that some people can start a podcast whereas other people just keep on thinking about it?
That's a good question. I think that I'm going to assume, because I'm not gonna say I know. I assume and I feel that it's just people being scared, like not. See, how do I word this? Like I've always been fairly confident in myself,
Right.
but I also have doubts, right? Obviously, everybody has doubts,
Right.
but I've never let those doubts hold me down. You could say, right? I've always, even if I have doubts in something, like even podcasting to this day, I'm like 25 episodes in, almost at 30 at this point.
Right.
And every now and then I'm like, should I keep going? Like I'm progressing. I'm getting better in my opinion, but at times even I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like what's keeping me? And then I'll have another guest and I'm like, that right there is keeping me in. So for me, it's to hop back onto the mindset thing. I've always had my brain's always worked to where if I think something's not going to work out, right, I'll make an excuse, not to end something, but to keep going. So one of the ones I do with the podcast is if this one's not going to be that great, I might think about stopping, right? So I'll talk to a country, and beforehand I'm like, I don't know if this one's going to go well. Right. And then going through it, I'm like, oh, okay, yep, nope, I was wrong. Here we go, right? And that keeps me going. So I'll make. I don't know if it's necessarily an excuse, but that's kind of how it works for me. Sure. Is I'll make an excuse that I know I'm going to hit, right? So it's really just a fake excuse, but it tricks my brain into keep going. And like with podcasting, I think if you just start it. Like even if you got to pull a friend to hit record and walk away, and now you're stuck. You're stuck. It's recording. You're on camera, bro. You better get going, man. You better get going, because sometimes that's what people need. They need to be essentially thrown into the fire, because I'm like that sometimes. If I'm required to learn something new, right, don't give me like a long timetable to get it done. I need a short window, because in a short window, I got to cram everything in, and I know it has to happen. Right. I know in order to pass or fail this thing, I need to get going right now. So you throw me into the fire, that's when I work my magic right there.
All right, that's one way to look at it. Throw me in the wire. It's like sink or swim. That's all. You got no other option. That's awesome.
Exactly.
Man. Yeah, it's like
Exactly.
sometimes another way to look at it, the way I look at it when I first started that podcasting thing, the first a few episodes I recorded it and then I listened to my voice and it's like,
Hmm.
oh my god, I
Yeah.
sound horrible. Like I don't sound
Oh
like
yeah.
that.
Like you
And
normally sound. Exactly. Yes. Yep.
right. And then I quickly discovered is like normally I don't listen to my own self. We
Yeah.
always listen to somebody else's voice, but never
Hmm.
your own voice. And when you actually hear it, it's like, holy crap,
Who
that
is
sound
that? Yeah.
exactly, exactly. It's like what? And then that's what I did for like 4 or 5 episodes, just record it, just getting used to it.
Hmm.
Then, I got to the point where I'm like, you know what? Screw it. It doesn't matter
Let's
if
go.
my voice sounds great or not to
Hmm.
me, but as long as I'm helping other people, that's all that
Hmm.
matters. Because then I took to the analogy, you're like, hey, if I go to get my car fixed, the mechanic
Hmm.
who's fixing my car, he's not gonna look great, but he's
Yeah.
gonna
Right.
fix.
He's
He's
gonna do
gonna
the
fix
job.
exactly.
Exactly.
So,
Yes.
so that's how I was. That's how I got over. I'm like, let me rephrase this to say, if take my
Hmm.
car to the mechanic, the mechanic doesn't look really all that great, but if it fixes my car, solve my
Who
problem, and
cares?
hence,
Exactly.
exactly. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm gonna move forward. So tell me about your podcast. What is it about? What do you guys talk about, or things of that nature?
Well, I started it. I remember. I remember the day it happened. I was at work, and I got done listening to a podcast. I don't remember which one it was,
Okay.
but the views that were being expressed on that episode were similar to what I have, but a little different, right? So I was like, well, I think I can improve that, right? And anytime I watch a podcast or learn something, I tell my wife. I'm always talking to my wife. Obviously, you should, right? Um, but I'd be like, hey, so and so said this, but I think it's this, or it's stuff that's going around in the world, right? We'll discuss that at the same time. And I remember being at work one day, and I texted her, and I was like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, starting a podcast. Do you think that's something that might be helpful, or is a good idea? Is I think how I worded it. And she said, yeah, I think she said she was thinking about it as well, or like mentioning it to me.
Okay.
But so I started it like again. I think I started it in March. I want to say,
Okay.
and I started it just to express my views on stuff that was on my mind at the time, right? So it'd be like in a few segments, and I would talk about a certain topic that interested me, whether it was something serious like politics or something ridiculous like a funny commercial I saw that day. It was a little bit of that. And then it evolved into when the George Floyd incident happened. It
Right.
evolved into talk more about that. Because again, I'm from the South. That's racism's a heavy thing down here, whether they want to admit it or not.
Yep.
Me being white, I've never firsthand experienced it, but I've seen it tons of
Right.
times.
Right.
So I felt kind of like I needed to stand up for what I believe in and
Okay.
my friends who have experienced that firsthand. Because kind of like it's it makes no sense for one. Let's go ahead and put that out there. That whole thing
Right.
is I don't want to make your podcast all like dreary and whatnot, but it makes no sense when let's say I'm living in this house, right?
Right.
My neighbor next door happens to be black. We grew up together, uh, same school, same everything. His upbringing, though, and his life experiences are totally different than mine.
Yep.
We grew up next to each other all our entire lives, but it's totally different because of how we were born. He was
Right.
born black, I was born white. It shouldn't be like that. So I felt I needed to try and shed some light on the good aspects of, but basically that all of us down here aren't ignorant, racist people here in the South. So I kind of went into that, and I wanted to showcase that it's wrong and all that kind of stuff. And I had reached out to a few friends
Right.
who were open enough to come and discuss their life bringings and how they've dealt with racism growing up, to shed some light on that to some of the people, have that white person, black person conversation.
Right.
And from there, it also evolved into that. That's the way it started to evolve into the whole cultural, like see it from not just an American side or a Southern side, just worldwide, how depending on where you're from, you can how you grow up to be, right? And I fell in love with that. So my if you watch my show from beginning to my latest, it's changed 3 different times.
Hey man, that's a good thing because where
Yes.
you started from is not where you are now, and where you
Yes.
are right now is still a starting point to where you want to go.
Oh yeah. Oh
That's
yeah.
how I look at
I
it.
have some things in the works that to take it, change it up again a little bit. Yeah.
Right. And I'm so glad you brought that up, the whole story about the Floyd part of it, because the beautiful thing about podcasting is you could literally have a podcast about any topic that is dear into your heart or you feel so passionate
Oh
about,
yeah.
which is amazing thing to do, because you have a podcast about that. And I just had to interview another gentleman who has a podcast about bedtime stories. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
that is such a great and
Yeah.
amazing service because, the kids having a hard time going to sleep. Right? If you don't want to read, you put on a podcast and off they go
Yeah.
to sleep. Like,
Yeah. That for sure. Because anybody can do it.
right.
There's a podcast for everything, essentially. I'm sure if there was like a podcast search engine, you could type in anything, and there's at least one person out there talking about that. Definitely.
You know
Like
what really
stitchings of a pillow podcast. There's one out there. There's one out there.
I am sure because the one that really tipped the iceberg for me is like when I heard that there was a podcast about how to take a shower and relax. I was like, what?
That reminds me, there was one about public restrooms. It was essentially a travel podcast, but all it focused on was public restrooms that this person has been to in all the countries. And that's it. It wasn't really on landmarks or beaches or anything like that. It was on the different styles of public restrooms. I'm like, really? And I listened to it. I had to listen to it, and it was okay. I mean, I can kind of see this. This is interesting now. Like, all right, you got a new listener, man.
Right,
Yeah.
definitely. It's just like a few people who listen to this show right now, and you're like, I don't know if I should create a podcast or I have nothing crazy about it. If you can create a damn podcast as a public restroom, I'm sure you can find it for
Yep.
a good topic that you have. Whatever your skills, whether it be a plumber, a photographer, or
Yeah.
even a podcaster, or whatever, it doesn't really matter. You can literally create a podcast about anything.
Anything. Yep.
Anything. And if, speaking of creating, how do you create a content for your podcast? Do you do a solopreneur, meaning you yourself and that's it, or do you do the interview based, or you do combination, or what is the format of your podcast?
It started out solo. It definitely
Okay.
started out solo. I think the first 4, maybe even 5 episodes were solo.
Okay.
It started to turn more so into interviews around George Floyd. I think my first one was invited my childhood therapist, who happens to be a black guy, business owner, has his own practice, and talked about the situation with him.
Right.
And then he reached out to other people and so on and so forth. But every now and then I'll go back to a solo. So it all depends on what's piquing my interest at the time. I plan and schedule for interviews. Obviously, you got to do that.
Right.
But like if I get home and, hey, this is, something interesting to me, I'll just hop on. And if it comes out cool, all right, there it is. That's a new episode, I guess, It all depends. It all depends.
You do it right on the fly?
Sometimes, yeah.
Dude, that is awesome.
Yeah.
It's like you just let it rip.
Those are probably some of the worst ones, but yeah. There's no planning involved at all. So those are probably some of the worst
sometimes
ones.
they are really, really, really good where you're like, holy crap, I actually said
Yeah.
that. I didn't even realize I could say things like that. That has happened to me. Has that ever happened to you?
Yes. Oh, Or like I'll record one like a guest one, right? I'll record it, and afterwards I'm like, eh, but then I'll like for me again, I go and I do editing and add pictures,
Sure.
and so you have to listen to it again. And at the end, I was like, yo, that was really good. That was really good. Like hearing it a second time, I'm like, no, I like that one. I definitely like that one.
Cool, cool. Yeah, definitely. I'm telling you, this whole podcast experience is like life
Mm-hmm.
changing for me. I don't think I will ever stop, and that's why I
Right?
got fully invested into the whole thing. Got
Yeah.
my own little company and everything going on. So tell me this: when you are looking to interview a guest, what are the things that you look for that you feel like if I have X, Y, and Z, that's gonna create really, really good content for my audience?
Well, normally when I reach out, especially nowadays, the biggest thing is for them to be from a different country, right? Because again, I like to learn about people from other cultures and other areas of the world. One of the most difficult things I've run into is because I only know one language. I only know English.
Right.
That's not what everybody in the world speaks, right? So I have a hard time finding English speaking guests from other countries. Because I'll have a huge love of Japan. The Japan episode I finished editing today just happened to be with a lady who's originally from America.
Okay.
If I was, I could probably eventually. I hope to eventually find someone born and raised in Japan, but I think that's probably gonna take a little bit more searching to find one that's fluent enough in Japanese, or excuse me, in English, and that's willing to come on. So I think really the only thing I'm looking for right now is the fact that they're from another country and speak English at this point, honestly.
Okay. Cool enough. So how do you go search for these people?
Well, on Facebook has that podcast group, guest connection, collaboration stuff where you just post, hey, I'm looking to find a guest, and I just mention somewhere from another country, right? And through that, though, through finding those guests and having those guests on, a lot of them have connected me to others, through networking. Like John, the one of the brothers from Liverpool, connected me with a guy from Cornwall that I'm doing tomorrow morning. I had one with a lady from Serbia, which is another one I absolutely enjoyed doing. And she connected me with three people, I think. One from Tasmania, one from South Africa, and another one, which I think is next Monday, from the Netherlands. So it's a little combination of both. It's a combination of getting into those groups and, specifically asking to find a guest from another country, or going to those I've already spoken to and be like, hey, if you know anybody else, let me know. Send them my way if they're willing to talk.
Right. That's pretty cool because first of all, more power to you trying to do the whole international thing because as you and I both know, doing the international booking or interviewing, the time zone it just
Oh,
kills you.
yeah, it does.
It kills you.
Luckily, with my regular job, I switch between days and nights.
Okay.
So sometimes I'm up at 3 a.m. anyways to get ready to go back to work the next day. So that kind of helps out. If it was a regular 9 to 5 job, it'd be a lot more difficult to speak with. I had one lady in the Philippines, so that's 12 hour difference. My Japanese one was 13 hours difference. It would have been a lot more difficult if I just wasn't normally up at that hour sometimes.
Right. That definitely makes like
Yeah.
wow. Because I've been to a few situations where it's like 13 hours to like 18 hours or 16 hours. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
like
right.
wow.
Like, do I stay up that late? Do I get up that early?
I
Yeah.
stayed up like 1 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock at night, or 6 o'clock in the morning. Like I did all crazy things. It's all
Yeah.
because oh, we love this thing, whatever.
Yeah.
So
Like I know me and my wife's bedroom's right over here. And I was like, babe, I got one at night. I'm gonna try and be quiet. Sorry, I love you.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely helps to have a good significant other who is like,
Yeah.
I understand, but I hate you, but I understand.
Yes. Yeah.
I want to kill you, but I understand.
Let me sleep.
I totally feel your pain,
Yes.
Oh, all right, let's talk about switch gears on editing part of your
Hmm.
post production. Let's just say, do you do a lot of post production nowadays, or compared to when you first started? Because obviously, everyone who first
Oh,
started, they're like, oh my god, I need this thing to be perfect. It needs to be
yeah.
amazing. The very first episode, and they spend like good 8-10 hours. I did it myself, so I know. So how about yourself?
I think I was the opposite. I
Oh,
started with very little, mainly because I didn't know how to do any of it, right?
okay,
And then I just started learning. I have a few very tech savvy friends that I would ask, like, hey, I want to do this. Can you show me how? And
right.
they'll send me links or walk me through it. And so I've just slowly been picking up little by little. Like I don't remember what video it was, but when I learned how to throw up a picture in the video, I was
Okay.
so excited. I was like, ah, yes, this is so cool. You know, so I'm still learning. I have a lot to learn in that.
Okay.
Um, I don't know anything about the audio editing aspect of things besides deleting stuff.
All right.
So I'm constantly on YouTube, trying to figure out, hey, I want to do this. How do I, finding some kind of tutorial on how to do whatever I want to try and implement.
Right. All right, cool, man. I'll tell you what, you doing one thing right because no matter how good or ahead in life you get in terms of podcasting, you
Mm.
always continue to learn, which
Yes.
most people just once they learn something and
Yeah.
they just stop. And
Oh
I think
no.
that's
No.
like a horrible way to do things. If you want to
Yeah.
grow, because especially in the technology world that we are in, the whole podcasting thing,
Mm.
every single day something is changing. So you got to keep up with it,
Mm.
which is a good thing because you get
Yes.
to learn new things and amazing things and things you never even
Mm.
thought about it. So,
Yeah,
so
because I
what?
know. Oh,
Go
I
ahead,
just
go ahead.
just just to add on one little thing. I know with the friends I've spoken to that I still keep up with to this day, like John, Lex from Serbia, and Umvesh. If they update or they throw out a new podcast and it has some, I'll watch it or listen to it, and it has something like, "Ooh, hey, how'd you do that? How'd you do that? Show me how you did that, man." So anytime I see something new, I'll reach out to that person. Like, hey, man, how'd you get that to work? I want to know how to do that for my next one too. So yeah, always learning something new.
Yeah, man, that's the great also too. Have a network of your friends who
Yes.
are also podcasters. You help them, they help you, and in turn,
Mm-hmm.
both of you guys grow, or a
Exactly.
team of you grow at the same
Mm-hmm.
time. Rather be like that person, like I don't want to say my secret. I'm
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
telling you. It's like whatever.
Yeah.
and
Right. Exactly.
and those are the people I feel like they never get ahead in life because they want
Yeah.
to be so secretive. And the most successful people that I know, they're like willing to share pretty much
Mm.
everything.
Yes.
Everything.
Definitely.
Definitely. Right. So tell me, where can people find you?
A little bit everywhere. I got a YouTube channel, Red's Ramblings. So you can find me on YouTube for the video versions of all my shows. And then search Red's Ramblings on, Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, anywhere of that. I got Twitter handle and Instagram at Red's Ramblings 1. You can find me on there and follow that. But everything else, just Red's Ramblings. Red's Ramblings. Oh,
Oh
yeah.
man, I love that name of Red's Rambling. We'll
Yeah,
talk about
yeah, yeah,
anything.
yeah. Exactly. It doesn't matter. Like I don't have a certain niche, you could say.
Okay.
I just whatever's on my mind that I find interesting, whether it be music, technology, religion, cultures, anything, I'm gonna ramble about it. That's what I do. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's cool. I love it, man, because that way you're not strict to only one
Mm-hmm.
industry. You could
Mm-hmm.
jump around and then go
Yep.
somewhere else sideways and all that stuff. So, which gives you a lot more flexibility.
Yep.
And if you think about it or not, you in turn become a lifestyle entrepreneur.
Oh God, don't put that label on me. Oh, that's putting a lot of pressure. Don't People shouldn't follow me, man. Not like that. I'm still very new to all this.
Yeah, but you're getting your feet where you think about it. Like I myself is the lifestyle entrepreneur because I first started my business in photography. Then I mastered that, taught other people, jumped onto web development into fitness, fitness into podcasting. It's like 4 different businesses. And
Yeah.
then every single business that I actually went into it was like I literally scratched my own itch. I mean, I needed something, I couldn't find it, and I went and did it, and then that was it. And if you think about it, you're doing the same exact thing. You're rambling about something you are passionate
Oh
about.
yeah.
So it's exactly the same thing. So you are, my friend, is a lifestyle entrepreneur.
Oh man. Can I ask you one question real
Sure,
quick?
sure, absolutely, yeah.
On all that you just said, do you find, because you said you started with photography, mastered that, branched off into this and that, right? Mastered all those. Are you one of those, because I'm this type of person, are you one of those, you start something, obviously it's scary, you don't know how it's going to turn out, right? But then you master it. Then you get bored, essentially, and you're like, I need a challenge. So you find out like, oh, I like that over there, let me go try that. And you start it, and when you start that new thing, again, it's scary because you're like, well, I just left this, which I was on top of the world of. I was good at it. And now I don't know where I'm at right now. I'm learning. And then, a few months, few weeks, years, whatever it is, you're on top of that as well. And then you get bored again. You're like, I need another challenge. And every time you essentially get bored of something, you're just like, I need a challenge. Let me go here, let me go there, let me go there. It seems like that's kind of about the same as what you do as well.
In a way, but slightly different.
Okay.
Like, for example, let me tell you a story about myself, like how I got started or whatever. So for me, I started my photography world where I just got my digital camera for a Christmas present, and I literally just fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, I love this thing. I'm gonna take pictures, and then family pictures, and then family member told, hey, Mark is a professional photographer, and then he can't take your pictures. And then one day I got a call, hey, we want to hire you to take our family pictures. I was like, what? You want to take?
Yeah.
You want to pay me to do that? So it was like an accidental success.
Yeah.
I was like, all right. At the time, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I literally didn't know what I was doing. I was scared out of my mind. Like, I'm not a professional. Like everyone goes to it.
Yeah.
I am not a professional. I'm not an expert. I just have a camera and I don't know what I'm doing, like literally. And then when I went there and literally went in there to take a picture, believe it or not, people will vote for you if you show compassion and passion about what you are as compared to your technology, techniques, and all that thing. They will care less about that because if you think about it, who are you doing business with? People. If you can understand how people feel, think, and learn to fulfill their needs with a smile, everything else, everyone else can forget. And that's what I learned in photography. I'm like, wow. My first gig, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was just like, oh, okay. I went into this friend of a family, went into the house and took a picture. And the first time I'm going in there, like literally, they're like, hey, how you doing? Like there's somebody coming in with a smile. Like you already setting the mood up like, hey, this guy's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I went in there and then literally I just, in my mind, I'm like, these people are my family members. And I'm going to treat them the same way with the same respect and same care. And literally that's what I did. And they felt the connection, the energy. And then the pictures were like, if I think about it now, they were average pictures, but that didn't matter. It's the relationship and the memories you're creating. So that was the photography business. And after that gig, I actually went in there and took some courses about photographing people, the lighting, the whole 9 yards.
Yes.
And then I went to the portrait, the wedding, the fashion shoot, the whole 9 yards. I was doing all of that without ever owning a website. And the reason why I got into the website world because I got tired of taking my wedding books and showing to people like literally I was physically doing that. And So then I went into the website world like I need to get a website because I don't have it. While I'm running my photography business, I need a website. I don't have a website. So I went in and talked to somebody else like, hey, we're going to charge you about 10 grand for a 5-page website. I'm like, what?
Yeah, what?
I was like, this literally. So I literally taught myself how to do that. So about 3 months into it, I was so excited because I created myself a my own web page that says "Hello World." I was
There you go. There you go. Yes.
So yeah, and then I started dabbling onto it, and then same thing happened with my photography business. What happened to it happened also in the web development. Hey, Mark is a web development. Go hire
Yeah.
him.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Oh
So
yeah.
basically, it was a transition into another, and I was doing my photography as well as my web development business as well. So it wasn't like I left it. I didn't leave
Yes.
it like
Yeah.
what,
Yeah.
8 years ago, whatever. So in a way, if I what I did was like went into the business and actually fell in love with it. And then if someone would pay me or not pay me, it wouldn't matter to me. And then it's just that I just continue on and on and on and on. And then the whole fitness world, how that happened, that was an interesting story because sitting behind a computer, all of us does that,
Oh yeah.
and that's 8 to 12 hours, and then you sooner or later got to
Oh
put
yeah.
on a weight and get unhealthy
We're
and
not
things of that
getting any
nature.
younger. Yeah.
Clearly, right? So I was like, oh my God, I need to do something about it. And I finally went
Yeah.
to the gym, and they're like, if you continue, and then let me just stop right there and go back one step. And they're like, my regular meal was extra large pepperoni pizza with 2 liters soda and 10 wings.
And sounds good to
And-
me. What do you mean? That's
And-
heaven.
That's heavy. That's one meal, and I have 4 more to go.
Yes.
So that was my lifestyle back then, and then I went into the gym and then talked to one of the trainers. Like, if you continue on this path, you're literally going to cut 10 years of your life.
Oh yeah. Definitely. For sure.
I didn't know. So I went in there and tried a whole bunch of diet, and what trainer suggested. It worked for like 2-3 weeks, most
Yeah.
month, and then it stopped. And I was like, you know what? I gotta figure this out. I already did it for 2 different businesses, and I'm not trying to do the business. This is my lifestyle. Like, this is what I
Yeah.
need to do. If I'm not here in this world, I am not gonna experience all the wonderful things the world has to offer. So
Yes.
I created my own little system. It's called, let's just call it a 12-week body challenge, where I literally, it's so simple. What I realized is that if you follow a specific diet, doesn't matter what diet it is, whether it be carb, whether it will be a protein, whether it will be a bacon eaten, and there's also, believe it or not, alcohol diet. I am not even making this up.
No, I
I'm
know.
not.
I know what you're talking about.
See what I mean? So it's like, it's not even making this up. I
Yeah.
did that for about 2 weeks, and after that, it just didn't work. It didn't work.
Yeah.
So finally figured out, like, okay, if I eat a specific kind of food, I will be allergic to what I used to eat a week later from now on, and I cannot eat that food. So I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm not doing this, because what I now do is what I have been doing and seeing the result is like, buy a food scale, and then whatever food you want to put on it, you
Yeah.
put it on it, and you eat X amount of grams, and that's it. So
Yeah.
your body will never be allergic to any food, and also you will not be having any kind of cravings. If you want to have a sweet, you put it on a scale, you can have your damn chocolate cake if you want.
Yes. Gotta have the cake, man. Gotta have the cake.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. So it's like whatever you want. So that's what it is. So that helped me went from 42 pant size to like 34, and from 2XL to medium size. So that was like life changing
Oh yeah.
for me.
Both me and my wife used to be over 200 back in the day. Oh yeah. So I know a little bit. I know a little bit about working out and all that kind of stuff. Not a lot, but
I was at 270. So yeah.
really,
that was-
I was 232 at my heaviest,
oh yeah.
and I'm like 140. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a life changing style. You know
yeah.
what I mean? It's like some people like, especially the damn New Year's resolution ones. I hate those people because they will
Yeah.
like go in there for a week and then you never see them. Like,
Yeah, you never see him again. Yep.
yeah. So basically, to answer your question, like lifestyle entrepreneurs, like people who go in there, basically they love it. They create a business out of it, and then I feel that's the way to do it, because when you love something, you create a business out of it. It doesn't feel like you
Yeah.
are working. Number one, number two, people will see that passion.
Oh yeah. I agree there.
Yeah.
If I can make this into something like that, that'd be why not?
Let's do a case study, because I love these podcasting, especially with this kind of thing. What's stopping you from making this into your full-time thing?
Not knowing how to go about that, honestly.
Okay, let's get specific.
Not knowing how to go.
What is it that you don't know, that you feel like you don't know?
Well, for one, like my regular job is obviously what's bringing in the money, right?
I understand.
So that leap is like, that's not a leap I can throw myself into the fire with. You know what I'm saying?
You have your regular job and you want to have a side hustle as a podcasting. Let's just
Who
say,
doesn't? Yeah, who doesn't?
so everybody wants a side hustle, right? So
Mm-hmm.
your side hustle is podcasting. And let's say if you get $500 a month from your side hustle, would that number motivate you to continue?
Oh, 100%.
So
100%. I mean,
now,
I 100. Like, I mean, I do this for free right now, and I'm having a good time.
right,
You know, yeah, I have doubts every now and then, but again, it's like I said, I'll talk to somebody and it's like, oh no, I gotta keep this going. Or a country will say, hey, I'll talk to you, and I'm like, oh, you? You're from there? Like when somebody from Tasmania reached out to me, I was like, Tasmanian Devil, Looney Tunes. Yeah, I'll talk. You know, it's simple stuff like that. So for 100%, yes.
right. So now you know what number you need to hit, which is $500 a month, just for now, just for starting out as a
Yeah.
side hustle, right? So
Yes.
now we break it down to like, how do you hit that number? What is it that you're good at? What is it that you can sell or help people with?
So that's what I don't know. I've never really put much thought into that, honestly. Because again, it's probably one of the things that's probably holding me back is I'm doing this the way I see it is mainly for me to learn. Yeah, I know in retrospect, other people are going to learn, especially those who listen, are going to learn the same stuff I'm learning as well.
Right.
But I'm not necessarily thinking of it like that, which might be holding me back possibly. But then again, I'm also aware of it, you know?
I will tell you this. Take whatever advice that you, rather not advice, a knowledge that you have. I'll put you to oh my God, I really love this thing. I really do. Because I'm like the kind of person who wants to help you, give you 2,000%, and then you go run with it. Because let's say what I normally do is like people who I coach, whatever, right? It's like, hey, let me put you to this, what I call as a midnight test. A midnight test is if I wake you up in the middle of the night while you are dreaming about the beach, your favorite drink, and all the wonderful things, and I'll wake the hell up, I'll wake you up and ask you a very specific question. So for people who are listening to this podcasting, let's just say you want to create something with the podcasting industry, right? And you want to help podcasters. So if I'm like, hey, Red, how do I create a podcast? And first thing you were like, what?
Yeah.
What? And then 10 seconds later, okay, you do X, Y, and Z. You think you will be able to do that?
If you were to tell me to do X, Y, and Z,
No, if I ask you, well, how do I create a podcast? If I wake you up in the middle of the night.
and would I be able to give you an XYZ answer? I think so.
Yeah,
I
give me now.
think.
So give me now.
Oh, well, camera, obviously, camera and internet connection, or even just a camera, because then you can go to a local library, get the free Wi-Fi hotspot at a park or whatever, upload it from there, and boom, you're done. To get started,
It is that simple.
you don't even need a camera. We're doing camera because we're doing video. You just need a microphone.
Right, exactly. So if you can help somebody with your advice, if I wake you up in the middle of the night, trust me, that's the skill you want to go monetize on. And how do you do that? You could do it digitally, obviously, or and then also you could do it in person as well. So for example, if you want to try this out, and I highly recommend you should strongly suggest that you should try this out. I'm sure you heard of a company called Airbnb.
Yeah.
You know, nowadays because of the whole pandemic thing, they are doing experiences. Meaning what that means is like you can be literally sitting on your home and teaching other people how to podcast and things on podcasts and to put things in perspective. People who are living in some other country and they want to see New York City, what it looks like right now. There's a guy who literally takes his cell phone and goes around to New York City and does that, and that gives them the experience of them being there.
I mean, that's cool. For definitely, yeah.
That's what I'm
Especially because
saying.
nowadays you can't. A lot of people can't go a lot of places.
Right, and there's this, and then there's also an experience where to teach you how to make food, and then the paper little toy things. I don't know the exact name for it.
Origami.
That's what it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
origami. You could learn how to do that online.
Yeah.
Airbnb experience. Like think about it. You can have an experience on how to be a podcast.
I mean, it's worth a shot. I ain't got no problem with it.
That's what I'm saying. If you just think out of a little box and talk to the right people, you'll be like, hey, I like that idea. I'm gonna try that.
Yeah. Because I've one of the other things, and jumping back to one of your previous questions about what keeps you going,
Right.
is reaching out to those certain friends that you respect their opinions, right?
Right.
And it's great to hear, hey, you're doing a good job. Hey, I love that episode. You seem knowledgeable, blah, 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 blah. I love, especially when it comes from the people that I respect their opinion,
Right.
the critiques. Like, hey, this is great. I had an issue with this part, right? Or maybe you could have done this differently. And stuff like that is another thing that definitely keeps me going, because a lot of times I've found that it's stuff I've thought of as well,
Gotcha.
but I needed you needed that second opinion, and hearing someone who I respect and value their opinion say the same thing that I've said to myself. It's like, all right, we're doing that. That's it. For done. We're gonna go that route now. Yeah.
Definitely, man. And then I want to share one more thing with you. Would you like to become an expert?
Hey, while we're here, let's do it. I'll be an expert, I guess.
You are you are already an expert from somebody who doesn't know how to create a podcast.
Yeah, I didn't know anything. I didn't know a thing before.
That's what I'm saying. What do you know right now? You're already expert for somebody who doesn't know how to create a podcast. So basically,
Okay.
in order for you to become an expert, you just need to know 5% more than the person behind you. That's it. 3 to 5%. That's all you need to know. So if you continue, and the way you're doing bad things is you're continue learning every single day. So therefore, you're already expert because you know more things about other people. Like, for example, let's say if I ask you, how do you promote your podcast?
Put it on definitely Facebook groups, Twitter, and Instagram. One of the big things is, especially with going through different countries, speaking about different countries, I'll specifically search for countries that have their own groups, or I'll tag in like the tourist center, like on Twitter, right? You can tag the tourist center of that specific country, and that way they'll see it as well. So stuff like that, definitely.
See, most people may not even know that.
Hey, I don't know if it works, but
At
it
least
makes
you
sense in my mind.
see what
if
happened.
because if I'm like the tourist, headquarters of Barbados, and this kid puts up a thing, and here's this guy from my country talking very highly about the country and all stuff, like, hey, whoa, we could use this, Yeah, it makes sense anyways.
Right. See, you know it. Somebody who doesn't know it, in their mind, you're an expert. And let me tell you that like quickly, and I don't want to bore other people with it. So basically, you are an amateur, expert, and then professional. So we have 3 categories: the amateur, expert, and professional.
Yeah, I'm definitely not that last one, that's for sure.
But you have to be all 3 of them in order for you to become a professional. So basically, amateur is somebody who doesn't know anything.
I hope to get to that professional part. That'd be really cool.
Right.
That would be cool.
And then the expert knows the knowledge and how, but they may not have the results. But they know how to get whatever they are process of getting it. As soon as they find result of what they know, then you become professional, and that's the journey. It is simple as that. So know what you know, and then get results, and then have other people create testimony or whatever, and then you automatically become professional. Like it's that simple. That's the journey. To any profession, doesn't matter. At least that's what I have learned running in the 4 different businesses.
Hey, I mean, you're doing better than I am at that point, so I can't really argue against you. That's for sure.
Right, but I'm like, I personally, I feel like that more I learn, the more I want to give back. That's just my mindset, and I because I feel like if I give back more, not only just I'm helping myself I have my little inner, what you call devil in me, whatever, if you want to
Yeah.
call it that. And like if I help you understand something in that process, I am learning how to teach.
Yeah.
And then in essence, you're learning all the stuff that I know. So
Yeah.
if you want to get ahead in life, go teach somebody else what you know, because you will realize how much you know what you think you know.
Yeah, because I know when I started, I was that guy in the forums. Hey, how do I do this? Hey, how do I do that? Asking all the questions. And now every now and then, well, heck, I know how you do that. Here you go. That I'm answering the questions now instead of asking them sometimes. So I get what you're saying. Definitely. It makes
Right,
sense.
right,
Yes.
right. All right, cool, man. And this, I can't even believe it. Like almost an hour
An
in,
hour.
I felt like I could go for another hour and all stuff.
Sometimes, man, it just flies by. It just flies by sometimes. Yes.
Yeah, really. So, all right, man. Well, I don't want to take too much time of yours. So, tell me where people can find you, and we can make sure I will include all of those things in the show notes. And thank you, first of all, so much for being here. And I will include all your links in the show notes, and we'll go from there. So, tell me.
Well, Mark, I appreciate you letting me come on and talk. I didn't feel I knew anything to speak of, but heck, it seems we made an hour out of me talking about something. So that's been nice. But anybody can find me. Search Red's Ramblings on all your wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm on just about everything. And the main thing, my main channel is through YouTube, youtube.com/USAJM Goodman, my last name Goodman, or you could just search Red's Ramblings, but that's the URL. I'm
All
there.
right. All right, man. Seems like I'm in your show, Res Rabbling, like you said. So I just thank you for being on your show. It seems like we have been on your show. This is what you guys can expect. This great content, amazing advice, secrets,
Hey,
tips, whatever
it's
you want to call it.
Ramblings. It's just rambles. That's
Okay.
all.
All right, man. Thanks a lot.